Good afternoon. Sorry for the delay. My name is Abe Friedman. I serve as the director for the Borough President. Welcome to Borough Hall, and we are excited today to present to you our latest heroes. As you know, the Borough President has honored now over 250 heroes for the past 4.5 years that went beyond the call of duty to endeavor and embarrass people's lives. So we're very excited to present to you our heroes for January, February, March, and April. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you the Brooklyn Borough President, Eric Adams.
Thank you. Thank you, Abe. This is really one of the most enjoyable things we do here at Borough Hall. And when you look at some of the heroes and sheroes that we're going to announce today, you're realizing that the citizens of Brooklyn are not only doing things here in the city of New York or in the borough of Brooklyn, but even internationally. And as I read over some of the actions of the heroes, I realized how we're just touching the lives of people in a very real way. And these are some great individuals behind me who are our heroes and sheroes for the last few months. And when you hear their stories, they're very real stories. And we're also joined by the family of Wenjian Liu, the police officer who was slain several years ago while on patrol. He was assassinated. And their families are here to really participate in a young man who's one of our heroes we're going to talk about later. But they're here to participate in showing their respect for the family of this young man, and how do we continue to emphasize the important need of dealing with the overproliferation of guns in our community and guns in our country. It takes innocent lives, and the pathway of that bullet does not stop merely because it strikes the body of the individual. It emotionally rips apart the anatomy of our community, and it continues to travel its emotional path throughout our lifetime. And so the first hero of the month is January Mike Nieves, President and CEO of HITN TV. An amazing story. Mike, son of Puerto Rican descent, realized when the hurricane hit Puerto Rico and the impact of the island and how much it devastated the lives of people. So many people in Puerto Rico was without power, a flood. We all saw the photos and the pictures while many people stood back and said, woe is me. Mike Nieves says, why not me? He picked up, utilized his vast network of friends and colleagues in the station to bring resources to Puerto Rico. He's one of the first Spanish language, he runs the first Spanish language nonprofit television network to gather supplies to those in need in Puerto Rico following Hurricane Maria. It included 150 water filters and purifiers. That was a major issue in Puerto Rico after the hurricane, the lack and access of good water that individuals were able to drink. Donated $6,000 in support of community and relief and recovery. Sponsored 2 53-foot containers for the Hartford, Connecticut community to transport boxes to Puerto Rico. He sponsored 52 tanks equipped with 4 filters with a capacity of 440 gallons of water to be installed in communities with no water access. This was crucial to the people of Puerto Rico. Also sponsored a 43-foot container for East Elmhurst. So many communities that wanted to give back did not have a manner in which they can transport their goods. And so what Mike Nieves and his team did was to ensure that they had the ability to transport the supplies in a very meaningful way. They also contribute money towards the $100,000 fund that Spanish American Merchants Association contributed. They purchased and shipped a 10,000-watt generator for a family whose son lost a leg in a motorcycle accident following the hurricane. And after Hurricane Maria struck with a vengeance, this son of Puerto Rican descent decided to give back in a real way to his mother country, and by doing so, it showed how important we as Brooklynites realize our role of not only to be the caregivers of Brooklynite, but the caregivers of humankind and mankind. And so I want to give this first proclamation to Michael D. Nieves. On behalf of all Brooklynites, I salute Mr. Nieves, President and CEO of HITN, America's first Spanish-language nonprofit television network, located in the Brooklyn Navy Yard, for collecting supplies for those in need in Puerto Rico by donating a substantial amount of equipment and allowing people to transport large amount of supplies and resources to the people during their difficult times after the hurricane struck. I commend him for demonstrating a deep commitment to making a difference for those struggling. On behalf of all Brooklynites, we salute Mike Nieves, Eric Adams, Brooklyn Borough President.
Thank you, Mr. Borough President. Thank you, the residents of Brooklyn. I'm from Bushwick, so I know what it is to be a Brooklynite. HITN is humbled, especially to congratulate the other heroes and to those of the families who lost members of their families to tragedy and to gun violence. It's always hard when we have to sit up here and remember the past, people who lost. When we try to make an effort, we realize that our effort isn't as serious as what other people's losses are. We at HITN took the opportunity to analyze what was happening in Puerto Rico. We have an office in Puerto Rico, and we decided that we would look for what was missing rather than rush into getting supplies down to the island. After the aftermath, we reached out across the country, found that people had tons of supplies, but they couldn't move it. That's where we decided to ship the containers down there. But most important was there was no water in the island of Vieques for the students who attended the 9 schools of that town. They could not drink water without having the lunch crew boil the water. So we took it upon ourselves to purchase the actual filters, had them installed, and the teachers took it upon themselves to keep the school open to provide water to the members of the towns and to the family. So it's ongoing, it's far-reaching, the filters are in use today, and that's part of the mission of HITN, to give back to the community. We are in 91 markets across the country. We have offices in New York, Washington, Miami, and Puerto Rico. We're expanding in the Brooklyn Navy Yard. We've been there before Steiner Studio was there. We were there. So, you know, we're friends and families to New York. And it's, again, our pleasure to receive this on behalf of all the efforts of the members of HITN and to my good friend and my hero. You know, we go back a long way, too, before he was elected. So I know the struggles that we had getting him here. He's made us all proud. And for me, it's a privilege to be here. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next hero of the month is for the month of March. Great story when you hear it. I think every mother's nightmare is to watch their baby leave in the morning and some unpredictable incident takes place that could take their lives. Every parent is fearful of receiving that phone call that something has happened to their child while they're at school, and it's just so unpredictable, and being able to respond during those times of emergency is crucial. And you know, as a former police officer, and many of the officers who are here, the chief and the commanders, they'll tell you your day starts when you enroll in the academy And when you retire, you are always on duty. It doesn't matter if it's 1 month or 5 months, you must be able to respond appropriately. And that's what our March Hero of the Month was able to do. School Safety Officer Tamira Jenkins, she is part of the amazing force of men and women who patrol and keep safety to our 1.1 million school children in 1,300 schools. We often take it for granted, but our school system is larger than some cities, and they do an amazing job in ensuring that. On Wednesday, March 28th at 11:50 a.m., Officer Jenkins was at PS 241 STEM Institute of Manhattan in Harlem. You may ask if she was in Harlem while we're acknowledging her, because good Brooklynites go all over. She's a Brooklynite. As she got closer, she noticed that there was an issue with a young girl sitting at the table, 14-year-old Layla. She appeared to have been having difficulty in breathing. She leaned over just to discover that young Layla had a piece of orange stuck in her throat. Our officer immediately jumped into action and gave her the Heimlich maneuver, something that's taught inside the police academy and something that we fought and was able to get retraining for our officers every year under Commissioner Bratton. We see how important this training is. Due to her utilizing the Heimlich maneuver, she was able to unlodge the orange and allowed this young girl to continue to breathe. Now, what's interesting here is that Officer Jenkins was only out of the police academy for 5 months. So it doesn't matter if it's 5 days, 5 months, 5 years, all of that training must kick in, and it really goes to show you the role that our school safety officers take. We often look at the FDNY and NYPD, the uniform officers, without realizing the importance of those uniform officers that patrol our 1,300 schools and protect our 1.1 million children. I'm hoping one day she will continue to move on and become a police officer with the skills that she has, and we just want to really thank her. And we're going to hear from Officer Jenkins, but first I want to hear from my commanding officers, Commanding Officer Brian Conroy and Assistant Commissioner Ramon Garcia. And I want to acknowledge also here is Commanding Officer of the NYPD School Safety Division, Wanda Acevedo. Wanda saw me at an event one day and she says, "Eric, we have amazing stories of our school safety officers." And I told my staff we're going to gather those stories and really highlight what our school safety officers are doing. They are going beyond the call of duty, and they're doing what's right for our children every day. And so, before I read the proclamation, I want to now call on the Commanding Officer of the NYPD School Safety Division, Brian Conroy.
First of all, Borough President Eric Adams, thank you for recognizing all the heroes. It is a special day, and we are honored and proud to be here today to recognize the tremendous work that Agent Tamara Jackson did in saving a student's life by using that training that she has, but also using her caring about the students that she watches over every day. And it's a heartfelt job. They really put a lot of effort into it, and I'll second what our borough president said, that it's also a good time to recognize that all our school safety agents and police officers that work hard every day to protect our students in schools, and they do in so many different ways, whether it's protecting, stopping intruders from coming into schools, but also, giving life-saving emergency aid to students. Every day in our schools, they're out there protecting our children. And we certainly appreciate that, and we're all proud to be here today to recognize Tamara Jenkins and her great work. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Assistant Commissioner Ramon Garcia.
Thank you again, Brooklyn President Eric Adams. Once NYPD, always NYPD. There's an old adage that says it takes a village to raise a child. Well, I'm going to add that it also takes a village to protect that child. There's a lot of talk about neighborhood policing, and we want to let you know that neighborhood policing extends inside of the schools. That's where our over 5,000 school safety officers on a day-to-day basis make sure that principals can lead, teachers can teach, and students can learn, dream, achieve, and grow. Now, I can tell you that schools have been the safest they've ever been in the history of school safety. Unfortunately, there have been a lot of news about things that have happened around the country, and thank God to the good work that's being done by the NYPD and the school community that we partnership with. We have the safest schools, the safest public schools in America. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Don't worry about staff, forget those. And so on behalf of all Brooklynites, I salute NYPD School Safety Officer Tamara Jenkins, a 21-year-old, for saving a young 9-year-old child for choking and giving her the assistance she needed at the school PS 241, the STEAM Institute of Manhattan. I applaud her for quickly jumping into action and using the Heimlich maneuver to save the life and ensure that this young child will continue to expand on her education. I, Eric Adams, Brooklyn Borough President. Congratulations to you. I want to say a few words.
Hello. I would just like to thank the Borough President for the reward and everyone that came out to support me. I know I'm young, but I know from now on I was meant to be here. And I'm happy I was able to send a child back home to her mom.
Thank you. I want to take a picture. Congratulations. You have the whole school safety division look like here. And for the month of April, powerful story of young Jamil Luis Cruz. And when you just hear his story and just the power of what we see oftentimes on our heroes of the month, they are dealing with their own encounters, but they look to turn it into moments of assisting others. Instead of wallowing in their pain, they turn their pain into purpose. And nothing personifies that more than our April Hero of the Month. He's a Bensonhurst native. Jamil Luis Cruz is a Brooklyn College student who's organizing a walk in Manhattan this Sunday to raise awareness for MS. He was diagnosed with MS when he was just 18 years old and discovered he had the disease just 5 months after joining the Navy. MS is a chronic neurological disease that disrupts the body's nerve function, leading to a severe damage and other problems with visual and mobility. A lot of people experience fatigue and chronic pain that prevents them from holding a job, carrying out their basic daily functions. Jamil participated in fundraising walks as a Cub Scout and then took the lead on organizing this walk this Sunday. Jamil takes 6 different medications to control his symptoms. He's hopeful that one day there will be a cure. And the cure comes with participation in doing the things that Jamil is doing by organizing a walk to raise awareness, to ensure that people know that those with MS will never be forgotten in our pursuit to ensure that we find a cure for MS. And so I want to thank Jamil, and I'm really proud of what he's doing on how he has found a way to look at his particular circumstance, no matter how painful it is, to turn that pain into purpose. So on behalf of all Brooklynites, I salute Jamil Luis Cruz, a Bensonhurst native and Brooklyn College student, for organizing a walk in Manhattan on April 15th to raise awareness of MS, a central nervous system disorder. He was diagnosed when he was 18 years old and decided to take this as an opportunity to encourage others to find a cure for MS. I commend him for doing all that he has done to make this a great borough and a place to live. Jamil Luis Cruz, Eric Adams. Thank you. Thank you very much. Can you take a picture? Want to take a picture?
Okay.
Let's say a few words.
Thank you, Borough President Eric Adams. All right, and thank you everybody here today. I would have never thought that I would have been here right now. And I did have a different dream. You know, everybody has a goal in their life, you know. I mean, a lot of people growing up, you ask them what they want to be when they grow up. You know, they say, I want to be a teacher. I want to be a firefighter. You know, I want to be in the police. You know, I want to be a police officer. You know, I was never like that. I was in scouting all of my life. I'm an Eagle Scout. And I figured the next step from helping the community is to helping our country. So I figured, let me join the United States Navy. That sounds like a good idea, you know? And I found out that I have multiple sclerosis while I was in basic training. And I said, this can't be, you know? And the doctor said, do you know what MS is? I said, not really, but I did walk for MS when I was a Cub Scout, but this isn't the same disease, right? I said, unfortunately it is. But I am happy to be alive today, you know, and being able to spread the awareness of multiple sclerosis, you know, and thankfully, I gotta say, my symptoms aren't as bad as they can be. And as long as it's like this, as long as I can still walk around and move, I'm gonna keep striving to help find a cure for this disease. All right, I thank you very much.
Thank you. Wow, powerful story, will and determination. And I want to skip back to the February Hero of the Month. And as I stated, I'm joined by the Wenjian Liu's family, an officer who was slain during a line of duty due to senseless gun violence. And our February Hero of the Month was a young student who was part of the victims on Valentine's Day. A horrific tragedy took place at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. The gunman opened fire on students and teachers with an AR-15 semi-automatic rifle, killing 17 students. One of them is our hero of the month, young Peter Wang. Young Wang, who was one of those victims, after he was able to leave the school, instead of leaving, young Wayne held the door to the school to allow students to exit and get out freely. Peter's parents moved to Parkland a year and a half ago so that he could join the school's junior ROTC program. When the shooting was taking place, Peter, proudly wearing his junior ROTC cadet uniform, he bravely carried out this act of saving the lives of other children. He dreamed of returning to New York and joining West Point, and West Point has posthumously admitted him to its class of 2025, honoring his service and sacrifice. Peter was laid to rest at Bailey Memorial Gardens in North Lauderdale, Florida, and buried in his uniform along with the Army Medal of Honor. His friends called him funny, a great friend, and was very loved. He loved basketball. Peter was a Brooklynite, an American, and a true hero. It is my honor to salute Peter Wang by awarding him with a citation for his selflessness and bravery, which undoubtedly saved many lives. So on behalf of all Brooklynites, I salute Peter Wang, a Brooklyn native who was a student in Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, for courageously holding the door open so that his classmate could escape the shooter who opened fire on his fellow students. I applaud him for his selfless act that he displayed on that fateful day while countless number of people were in fear and 17 people lost their lives. We want to commend him for his heroism. Peter Wang, Eric Adams, Brooklyn Borough President. And at this time, we're going to light a candle. We're going to leave this display here throughout the month of April and really want to thank the Wenjian Liu's family for coming here. The pain never dissipates when you prematurely lose a family member or loved ones to senseless gun violence. And by having them in our lives, it allows us to constantly remind ourselves how we must remain vigilant in our pursuit to end this country's sick pursuit of over-proliferation of guns in our community. And this is our way of doing so, of showing our remembrance for young Peter Wang. I want to thank you all for coming out and showing our support for our heroes that cross the entire section of life and how they participate in helping people one way or another. Young Peter Wang lost his life, but a young baby 9-year-old girl had her life saved. It's the combination of the duality of our existence that we must always hold on. With every negative, there's countless number of positives, and those positives have been reflected today in our heroes. Thank you very much.